Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It's Corrine. I hope everybody's having a great day today and starting to get some spring weather for you. Today, I'm going to be playing with my Lavinia stamps using a technique that I think is called icebox watercolor, but don't quote me on that. But I've been seeing a lot of videos and postings on the Lavinia channels and stuff like that. So I wanted to give this relatively simple card, give it a go. Yeah, the trick is to keep it minimal because you're not using a ton of area. So I think this card is 4x4 is I think what I did it at. Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 1/4 maybe because I think yeah. So anyway, this is just a card front that I did practiced, had a little bit of sheen and shine to it. But it's a kind of quick and simple card. So I kind of just wanted to hop on, see if I could get it going here. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is we're going to need some watercolor cardstock. This is just a 5 by, sorry, this is actually 4 1/4 by 5.5. I might be lying to you. 1, 2, 3, no, 4. I did 4 by 5 1/4 actually is what I did on this one. And I'm actually going to turn it this way because I tend to do my Lavinia cards landscape style. So that's what I'm going to do. The next thing that you're going to need is a water reactive ink. And the one that I'm going to be using today is oxides. I did do this with distress inks as well, and it worked great, but I did like the results that I got with the oxides a little bit better. So that's the what I'm going to use today. So, and the reason why you can also use your Lavinia, any water reactive ink or an ink that will move with water will work just fine. So as long as you can watercolor paint with it, sorry, I'm just gonna cover my bruise there. I don't even know how I got that. I think I must have, I don't know what I did there. Just one day I had this nasty last bruise. Anyway, it's pretty colors of green and purple right now because it's healing. So basically I'm just doing this, but in order to get the square, we're actually going to use the lid. So that's why I'm using the oxides or the distress inks. But you could do this with the Lavinia ones and have like an oval color shape, whatever. It's up to you. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to take your ink pad and the lid, and I'm going to gently press the lid into the ink pad, just like this. You start to see that I'm creating basically the edge of my lid is going to become my stamp pad. That's what I'm going to stamp down. So I'm going to try and ink up as much as I can onto the edge of my lid. Okay. So I've got a pretty decent, I think, pretty decent coverage there. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to stamp it down. Right. Just going to kind of hold it there for a second, let the ink transfer from the lid onto the paper. It's not going to absorb because, of course, this is an oxide, so it's got a pigment property to it. So it's going to sit on top. Okay, and then we're going to lift. And so I've got just a slight outline. I'll hold that up to the camera there so that you can see it here. Second. Okay. So I've got just a slight outline. Okay. Now, of course, the really cool thing about distress inks and distress oxides is that they are water reactive. So now I'm going to take just a paintbrush and I'm going to start to reactivate that ink, but I want to keep it in kind of that square-ish shape because that's the outline that I've got here. So I want to try and keep it to that shape. And I want to draw it in just a little bit. I'm just going to add some color. I want to add a little bit of depth and smooth that over there. So you can do this on other paper. You don't have to use watercolor, but we are adding a fair bit of water here. So I want to be able to get this to mix enough here. You know what? It might have been the inks that I prefer versus the oxides. This doesn't feel like it's giving me a ton of movement compared to one of them. One of them definitely gave me more movement than the other. Right? So I didn't put it down on the paper, which seems silly now. But this is salvage patina. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna grab just a second, guys. Technical difficulties here. Okay, so I'll pull out. All right, I've got my distressed ink here in the salvage patina. So same color, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna go around the edges. I'm gonna grab up a little bit of ink, and I'm gonna try and stamp it down in roughly about the same place. Doesn't have to be perfect. Ah, yeah, there we go. Okay. So let's see which one. You saw how much it was moving with just the oxide. Let's add this in here. And I want to draw that color out just a little bit, just enough that I want to add a little bit of shade, a little bit of highlight to my card here. I want that tone to come out just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put that to the side to dry because I've added a lot of water to that. So essentially what I'm going to end up with is this, okay? And the one that I used was mustard seed. Okay? So as you can see, so I've got, I've left a little bit of lighter tone here. You can just come in from the sides and the top, depending on where you want to add in your shadows, your highlights, all of those kind of things. That's really up to you in terms of where do you want to do that. Okay? Now that I'm done with my watercoloring, I'm going to add this, put this down and out of my way now. So all I've done here basically is I've edged my card using my VersaFine Clair, so it's permanent. I can add water to it. It's not going to move or reactivate or anything like that. The only thing that you want to do is that you want to make sure whatever water-based ink that you're using, that you have similar tones when you go to do your card, right, of permanent inks. So these are my VersaFine Clairs. So I use the mustard seed here, so I wanted to make sure that I had some yellows. This is kind of a greeny yellow, a bright yellow, and then I'm going to stamp my main image in the brown so that it's not as harsh as what a black would be. But if I was using like deeper tones, I would definitely use, like I could use a black or the twilight, whatever. And I'm just going to use my little stamp mat here because I'm not pulling out anything really big. So the images that I decided I wanted to use are the orchard grass and the field grass. So I think that these would be really nice and delicate. And then I've seen really cute ones. These are great to do critter cards like the hedgehog or the hares or the cats or something like that. But for me, I tend to do more fairies. So that's what I'm going to do. And I think that this fairy here is just adorable. I think she's going to be really nice coming in off of the edge here. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to stamp her. So as you can see, I kept out my acetate because I can put that down there and check out where I want to place her. So I kind of want her backside right at the edge of the yellow there is what I'm thinking. And that'll give enough space for her to come in. I could also do, oh, that's really cute too. Yeah, I'm going to do that one instead. See, change my mind. That's what happens when you have the acetate here. Ooh, actually, I haven't used this one. This is, I think this one's called Jalandar, and it's a really cute fairy, and there's a bigger one available as well. So you can see she's got hands. So I need to make sure that I'm going to get her kind of grounded there like that. That's what I'm going to want to do. So move that to the side. Pull it a block. Stick it down. And like I said, she was stuck on there pretty good. So I want to make sure that I'm conditioning my stamp, kind of taking any of the processing film off of by rubbing my fingers over it. Just kind of giving it a good squeegee there. Okay, so I'm going to use the pine cone. So this is a dark brown, kind of a nice nut brown color, which I think will be really nice with the yellow, right? Won't be quite as harsh as the black. And now I just want to make sure that I'm tapping and fully inking up my stamp, making sure because I'm not using a stamp platform. So I want to be able to make sure that I'm going to get good adherence right to start with. So I'm going to hold that up and you can kind of see, you see the light there? I can tell where every place has been inked up. And now I want to have this right there. I'm going to put it down. And I'm going to give it a minute for my ink to transfer from my stamp onto my paper. And because this is VersaFine Clear, so it's a pigment-based ink, that means it doesn't sink into the paper. It just sits on top. So I want to give it enough time. I want to just continue to give light pressure because that's the friction that's going to help the ink transfer from my stamp onto my paper. The paper isn't going to draw it down like it does with a dye-based ink because it's water-based, right? So the paper would go with it. This is just going to have the ink sitting on top. Okay. All right. Pretty good. Pretty good. All right. So I'm going to stamp. And here. Okay, putting the stamps back. Now, to have this, now what I would like to do is, these are the two, they're very similar. As you can see, I'll put them on the white here so you can kind of see them. So one is the field grass, one is the orchard grass, and one is much smaller, obviously, than the other one. But I like to use the acetate because I can put them in place, right? So without having to have them marking up my work or anything, because I always put my stamps away clean, but sometimes you never know, there could be some transfer, right? So all right, we do that. We can have one from there. Yeah, that's quite nice. Okay. Yep. Okay. So stamping the first one. So I'm going to do the first one, this lighter color, or the smaller one. I'm going to do it in my lighter color, which is Cheerful by VersaFine Clear. It's quite a bright yellow. Use these. That's kind of what's nice about this particular card style, is because I don't use a ton of my other colors as much as I would like to, or I could be. And this allows me that opportunity to pull out those other colors, just because it's a very simple card with not a lot going on in the background. Okay. Yeah. Another one on. Okay, so I've got my first image stamp there. Now I could come down like this. I could go up, go over it. Kind of like that, I think is kind of nice. Go off to the side. All right, so this one I'm going to use the Golden Meadow. Far down. That. And to lift, and I'm going to try and do a second generation straight measure. There we go. Yeah, I think we're going to need another one of those lighter yellow ones, Cheerful, in the small size. You see, so I managed to get the pretty decent second generation there. So I think what I need to do is bring in that lighter yellow again over to about here to kind of help balance out that kind of greeny yellow. Right? Smaller. And then right around there, I think. second generation. Okay, so we're keeping it pretty light, simple here. I keep saying simple. It's actually really complicated to be able to do a clean and simple card. So what I could do, I think I'm actually just going to leave them. I don't think I need anything else on her. Just going to leave it. It's very difficult to do. I'm very tempted, but I'm really going to make an effort to not add anything. I'm sure you can tell how difficult this is. Okay, so now the last thing that I want to, not the last thing, I am going to add some more details to it, like some finishing details and whatnot. But what I would like to do is also just add a little word here. So for example, I've got nurture, nature, silence, right? Like that's kind of nice. That's what I did on this one, is just did the nurture in the same color as the fairy, and I think it turned out really quite nice. You know, nurture yourself. This is a nice self-care one to do on the inside. I hope you get better, or hope you're feeling better soon. Actually, that nurture right there would be quite not too bad, hey? Gives a lot of space rather than doing everything. No, I think I like it over there. Yeah, okay. This nurture is a really nice word. I didn't look for the rest of them. And a regular stamp too, you wouldn't have to use this, but if you've got to get well, or with deep sympathy, or thinking of you, or welcome home, or yada, 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 yada. Okay, so I'm just going to take the acorn brown. Is it acorn? Pine cone? Nope. Pine cone. Yeah. So I'm not going to introduce another color. So I'm going to use the same brown as the color of the fairy. And I'm just going to take this right here along the edge of that square. Go. Ta-da. Alrighty. Okay, I'm going to put this to the side now. Go. Now let's add a few nice little details to our card. And you can see that it's still a little warped. So I could put it in, when I was drying them, I didn't put them in a book or anything like that. They're just, I just left them to dry. Let's see here. Good, good. Okay. So I want to add a little bit of detail underneath her hands, because I want to ground her, because currently she's kneeling on nothing, right? You can see here she's got nothing underneath her. So she just kind of looks like she's floating on her hands out, and would be fine if it was a flying fairy, but she's not flying. So she needs to be grounded here somewhere. So in order to do that, I'm going to add just a smidge of shadow underneath her, like this. Okay. Just gonna buff it in, because these are kind of a pastel-y pencil, these ones here. I like to do. There we go. You see how that difference, how much of a difference that made, just to make her look like she's actually touching something? So we're going to do the same thing over here, but I'm going to use a slightly lighter color underneath all of the reeds here. We want to make sure that they look like they're actually touching. They've got a little hillock underneath them, but they still need to be touching something, right? And these guys would be throwing off a bit of a shadow. So now I'm just gonna add that in there. So again, we're just adding in those shadows, make them look like they're actually real things, give them some depth, give them some dimension. Okay, so my white jelly roll here, I'm just gonna highlight some of the areas, because this is anytime it's a silhouette, that means then that the sun is hitting it someplace, right? So we want to highlight some of those areas. So if you want to think about when the sun hits, like you're looking and it kind of has that shadow behind it, the sun comes around something. So it blocks out part of it, but not all of it, right? Of an image that is in shadow. So I'm just using my white jelly roll to add in some of those details. On her nose, her forehead, do a little bit on the arm. Go on the back. Okay. Touching me out here. Definitely in the arm. Okay, so there's some folds. So when Tracy from Lavinia Stamps creates these stamps, she draws in these areas of where the natural body line would show light coming through it. So it's a good idea to try and copy those, right? Like to work with within those lines, or to draw within those lines. So now I'm just going to add some sparkle. This is the wrong sparkle pen, which is the problem when you have so many sparkle pens. Let's see here. What did I do with that? There. Okay. That's more the silver one. This one is a colorless glitter pen, Jelly Roll. So I'm just going to add in those few little details here. Following the wings. You could also use a, oh fudge, what's it called? Wink of Stella. That's the word. I was just talking about it in the last video too. Yeah, a Wink of Stella pen would also do the same thing here. You just have to watch where you're using it, because anything that you're putting on that is, of course, water-based, such as this pen or your Wink of Stella or something like that, is going to reactivate that watercolor that's underneath it, right? So you have to watch that. Make sure that you're using it in the area that you want, because it will definitely reactivate the watercolor there, because it is a watercolor base. It has to be, if you didn't want it to be reactivated, such as like when we stamped the rushes or the like field grasses or the fairy, we used a permanent based ink. So the oil based ink or the like the VersaFine Clair. So now I just want to add a little bit of shine on these the stalks, the field grass, kind of catch that and add a little bit of, and of course, because this is clear, I don't have to be super precise, which is nice. But I've got the glitter on this side, so I want to add a little bit to this side. Make sure that it's kind of highlighted. Yellow. Okay. Yeah, put that away. Okay, so and you can see that really pretty shimmer in her wings. I like dragonfly wings. I really love it. And then I did add, it's very subtle. You can't quite, I don't know if the lights, if I can get the light to catch it in the field grass there, but there is definitely a little bit, and it activated a little bit. So it actually looks like gold streaks going through the field grass there. But that's a very simple card. Done, one and done. So yeah, if you have any questions, by all means, please do leave them in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. Hope you give it a try. Tons of videos and tutorials on Lavinia on Facebook. Also the Lavinia store. Just go to laviniastamps.com. You'll be able to see some really beautiful, beautiful cards that they've created. Again, the main thing that you want to make sure that you're doing though is that whatever color you're using, make sure that you have a couple of coordinating colors. So I'm using the Salvage Patina. So the inks that I'm going to use when that other one is dry are, I'm going to use Warm Breeze. Sorry, let's turn it in the correct way. Okay, Warm Breeze, and then probably the Bluebell is, I'll stamp my fairy in the Bluebell. So it's a deeper blue, so she'll be the focal. So the whatever I'm using as my focal could be a hedgehog or a whatever in that. But I think I want to use this color to try to create a couple of Christmas cards. And so I'm going to have some trees similar to this one. So I'll do these in the Warm Breeze, but I'll have the Bluebell for whatever I'm using as my focal, whether it's going to be an animal or a fairy, whichever, doesn't much matter. Okay. So there you go. So this one turned out a little bit more simple than this one, just because I had to do the edge there. Um, but I like how it turned out. It's different. It's a little bit challenging for me to back it away, but that's what I'm going to go with. Again, that's going to be the video today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you do have any questions or comments, please do leave them in the comment section below. Keep it kind, please. And share, like, subscribe. And anyway, I will see you guys all later. Take care, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.